Help us capture today. Enlighten us with the wisdom of your vision. Let us take the day's problems and work them hand and mind, so that the end product is a glory to you and peace to us. The only limits are those of vision. Amen.
Before we start the council meeting, we are going to have a special meeting of the Community Development Agency. Short meeting.
Can I go right in here? I'll call the roll. First ward.
Here?
Second.
Here.
Third.
Use of exaltation.
Fourth.
Here.
Fifth.
Here.
Sixth.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
I have one item on the agenda. It's an approval of letters, signs, and specialties. It's Howard Rose's new store, an expansion of his existing business in Romney into the Canal Mall in the former Martha's Perm Shop, I believe it was. I think you all got print of the storefront of the building layout. It reads, whereas the CDA Loan Review Committee has reviewed the microloan request submitted by Howard Rose, doing business as Howard Rose, it's supposed to be letters, signs, and specialties. Business to be located at 14 Canal Wall, and is recommended for approval of a maximum of $25,000 loan at 6.5% for 5 years for purposes of working capital and equipment purchases with collateral to include personal guarantees and security interest on assets of the business. Now therefore be it resolved, the board hereby authorizes the director to prepare and execute loan documentation contingent upon receipt of documentation evidencing all project costs. Charlie has had a copy of the proposed loan documents. He's reviewed them. We did a search of the assets of the business, and everything's clear. Howard is in. I think he's still doing some cleanup work, and he's about ready probably to have a grand opening in the next couple of weeks or so. And I think it's interesting that someone is actually starting a business in what I consider to be one of the most difficult periods in our downtown in an awful long time. This is going to be a very difficult summer, so I'm very encouraged. We're working with several more small businesses interested in downtown, so we're excited about it anyway. It appears that we have some activity.
Howard's talked to you about the parking.
Pardon me?
I'm sure Howard's talked to you about the parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
We met with a number of the downtown employers yesterday and went over the schedule for downtown, the demolition and the construction, and talked about the parking at that time. So
I mean, the unfortunate thing is it's going to get worse before it gets better.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And
If nothing else, you're going to have all the construction people parking in a
But
parking
they're
space.
kind of prepared for that. They have kind of a good attitude around it. What we talked about last night was if it gets really bad, that we're prepared to run a shuttle bus to try to find parking on the perimeter somewhere and, you know, bus people, the employees back and forth to alleviate some of it.
Gee, if we're gonna do that, why don't we put them down by Black Clawson and run the shuttle from there?
Well,
That would be excellent.
and
you
we
know.
mentioned again at Full Safety Plan the other day, people don't want to use that lot because they're afraid. Now, I don't know anyone that works into the evening hours downtown in a bank situation, so
They're afraid to have to walk too far is what they're afraid of.
it's probably.
Sorry about that, Mike,
Joel,
but that's how it is.
There's going to be a walkthrough.
I didn't say I disagreed.
2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the bidders are walking through. They'll be here at City Hall. We have a brief explanation of the requirements of the contract for federal purposes, and then they'll be walking through the entire downtown. So if anyone would care to join us, Harley or Ron, you're more than welcome to join us.
But it was the 21st.
We changed it to the 21st. Dan Sittler can't come, so we had to change it back to the 20th.
What time is it from?
You wanted this room for that?
No. We're going to be downstairs as you walk in, inside City Hall, for 5 minutes, and then we're out of here.
You didn't tell me that change.
Carol, what time tomorrow?
Scratch 21st.
What time tomorrow?
2 o'clock.
If I can find a place to park on my shot.
If you can't call me, I'll pick you up.
Gee, thanks.
You'll run the shuttle.
I'll run the shuttle.
So we need
Shorter than the...
a motion.
A motion, please.
I'll move it.
Second.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think I just asked the mayor if I could tag along on the June 2nd.
We went with June 2nd. She wanted to do it next week, and we're going to postpone it till June 2nd.
We're getting to the other one.
Can I ask a question while you're here?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question while you're here, Carol?
Yes.
What's up with the Woolworth building these days? I was back at Towpath again this afternoon, and there's all kinds of rumors flying around. I mean, do you have anything that you can say? What's going on?
I think Roger Pierce owns the property. He's scheduled in our office within the next couple of days. There's something going on, and we don't know exactly what it is, but there's
Today they asked me if the
picnic
city was-
tables and
yeah,
things and
picnic tables.
so,
I heard that too. I heard the Save-A-Lot was going to go there. I've heard all kinds of things, so.
a significant amount of interest in the site south of Bryant's. We have someone from Florida interested in the site,
The vacant lot?
and we have someone locally that I'm sure you all know, and we'll talk about it next time we meet.
Okay.
Very, very good prospect and would be an excellent restaurant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Clerk, call a roll.
Mayor Stafford.
Here.
Alderman Lincoln. Here. Alderman Sahaski.
Here.
Excuse me. Alderman Weston is absent on vacation. Alderman Sherman. Here. Alderman Thompson.
Here.
Alderman Woodward.
Here.
All present except for Alderman Weston, Your Honor.
Thank you. Item 1.
Whereas the clerk was authorized and directed to advertise, receive bids in his office on or before May 19th, up to 2 p.m. and publicly open at 2:15 for furnishing the City of Fulton DPW with one new and unused mounted hydraulic breaker in accordance with specifications prepared by the City of Fulton Engineering Department. Where the bids were open as read as follows: Tracy Road Equipment, East Syracuse, New York, $37,569. The bids were referred to the Engineering Department for the recommendation. The Engineering Department has reviewed the sole bid of Tracy Road Equipment in the amount of $37,569. It's recommended the bid be awarded to Tracy. Whereas the council would agree with the recommendation of Mr. Edict, now therefore be it resolved the bid submitted by Tracy Road Equipment in the amount of $37,569 hereby accepted and awarded to Tracy Road Equipment, Inc.
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the clerk's report for March 1998 in the amount of $5,842.69 is hereby received, approved, and placed on file.
Motion?
I'll move it. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolve the following letters of claim are referred to our city attorney. Letter of claim submitted by Mr. Robert Carl, 213 South 5th Street. Damages to the foundation of his home alleged to have occurred over the years as a result of water damage. And a letter of claim submitted by Kathleen Guile, 283 Kingdom Road, Oswego. Damages to her tire alleged to have occurred when she struck a piece of curbing in the road on West 3rd Street.
Can I ask a question about one of those? Mike, with regard to Vaccaro, I mean, you know what that problem is.
Yes.
It's been a problem for a long time. Are we
Yes.
going to do anything to fix that?
We're going to have to do something.
We're going to have to dig up the road is what it's going
Yes.
to boil down to.
Right. That's what it's going to take.
Mill it down or dig it down?
Dig it down further. What happened was it was pitched. The west side is higher than the east side, and he lives on the east side. Whenever it rains or the snow melts, it runs across the street and into his yard and into his basement. And in fact, one of the houses was on fire there last fall, the fireman put water on a house across the street and it all ran across the road and into his yard. And he said that when they paved it about 3 years ago, all they did was mill the top of it and pave over the top, and it was still slanted. I mean, it needs to be dug up all the way and leveled off. No, well, not that much.
We're going to have to address that. Motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the mayor be authorized to sign a proposed temporary access agreement with Niagara Mohawk Corporation for the purpose of continuing the work required at the old gas manufacturing site pursuant to a consent order with the Department of Environmental Conservation.
Where's that, Mike? The old
South
guy?
First Street?
There's on South First Street.
Is it right on the corner there, just north of Jimmy Meyer's shop?
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know where it is now.
Isn't that next to Heppel's property?
Right in, do I have the map here? It's where that, where the church is.
Okay, all right, I know where it
Yeah,
is.
in that area right next to the church. Do I have a motion?
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved that the city clerk be authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing to be held on June 2nd relative to a proposed local law which would delete subsection 45-8 of Chapter 45 of the Fulton City Code entitled Registration Fees.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The legislative committee will review this prior to the public hearing?
Correct.
Okay. Next item.
Resolved that the mayor be authorized to sign an engineering agreement with Blaisland, Blount, and Lee, engineers and scientists, at an amount not to exceed $15,000 for the preparation of a site investigation remedial alternatives report work plan regarding the Kamenak property brownfield program, said amount not to exceed $15,000 without council approval.
Is this something that we could do if we had a city engineer?
No, this has to do with the brownfield, and they have to be qualified to do that. That's why you have to go to an outside concern. This will be the one that, under the brownfield, that we started before the building was destroyed for the testing to see what the...
Are we going to get reimbursed any of this?
This is this is the funding that was out there for that.
For the groundwater?
We have that, yeah.
Are we sure we're going to get the funding? And it's going to be 100%, we're not going to come back later, and it's going to be
That's
50% of 3 times as much?
75,
525
75-25 on that.
in this case.
And that's not subject to change later down the road?
No, the demolition was a very specialized thing.
But that's why I'm asking. I mean, we were going to be reimbursed 75% of X number, and it ended up being 50% of a lot more. So I want to make sure that that's not going to change.
It should be 25, 75, and 25 on this.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. John Kruk, would you please just give us a little background on this next presentation, please?
Approximately a month ago, I received a call from Erica Turner, who is in the participation in government class at the high school. And she requested to talk to the mayor and myself about a project she wanted to do for her government class, her and some of her classmates. And the project concerned itself with recreation and how young kids in our community view recreation. We're going to do a survey and prepare a presentation for the council tonight. The mayor and I thought it was a good idea, see what our needs are for recreation, maybe take a look at some of the recommendations that they're coming up with tonight. So at this time, I'll introduce Erica to come up and give the presentation, and she can introduce the rest of her classmates.
My name is Erica Turner. I'd like to thank the mayor and all the members of the council for letting me present my information tonight. These are the other members of my committee that could be here tonight: Jeremiah Roach, Joy Camiso, and Matt Leota. And also Sarah Greco and Aaron Splincy couldn't attend this meeting tonight. Like Mr. Crook said, this presentation deals with the recreation, the city of Fulton, the facilities and programs. And I'm doing this for my participation in government class project. We formed this committee with the goal to solve the problems of teenagers not being aware of the recreation programs available to them, and to gather information about facilities such as parks, pools, and tennis courts, and assess them to see if there's any ways that we can improve them and offer suggestions. We have a process that we went through, and first I talked to Mr. Crook, and I discussed my goals and my overall direction in this project. And I had a talk with Mr. Ostrander as well. And we discussed some possibly new teenage programs, because we talked about how there aren't really enough programs for teenagers. And there's a lot of things for older people, adults, and younger kids, but there's not really that much that centers on teenagers. So that was one of our goals, to find some new programs that people would be interested in. He also told me about all the recreational facilities that the city owns, so we could all go and assess them and see what the conditions were and see what suggestions we could make about them. Then I met with my committee, and we used the information that we got from Mr. Ostrander, and we began our project where we visited all the facilities, parks, things like that, and we compiled our survey and handed it out to the school. And Joy Camiso will now talk about our project.
First, we visited all the facilities, and this provided us with a basic understanding of what the city has to offer and gave us information on which to base our survey. The survey consisted mainly of questions about the existing programs and facilities, and also suggested new facilities. The most popular was a beach volleyball court at a city park. It tested awareness regarding the city's pools and tennis courts, existing facilities, and also interest in new ideas, such as a variety show and a volleyball league. There was an opportunity for students to provide information on how to better inform the community about the programs. And the final question asked students what programs, other than the ones suggested on the survey, they would be interested in. The surveys were distributed in homerooms at the high school, and we received 107 responses. Along with this survey, we also have results from a similar survey done by Jeremiah Roach.
When we visited the parks ourselves, we did a little bit of an analysis to see what we felt needed to be changed. And overall, we were pleased with the amount of parks and the condition they were in. There were a few small changes that we thought could improve some of the parks. For example, at Van Buren Park, there are some goalposts which had fallen down or lying down on the ground. We thought those could be removed. We also thought it might be a good idea to put in some basketball hoops. There's some asphalt there, but there's no hoops. And at Raleigh Beach, we noticed that there was some old playground equipment lying between the barn and the pond, and some of it might have been even a little bit in the pond. And we thought it was, since it was unattractive and possibly dangerous too, it might be a good idea to remove that. And we also felt that a nice addition to both of these parks would be picnic tables. And I believe Jeremiah Roach will speak next.
Yes, my name is Jeremiah Roach. Well, the first thing we found with our survey is most students didn't have knowledge of the recreation programs available. The ones that the programs in the chart which had the highest percentage of students saying they participate in them were indoor tennis, inline hockey, and an after-school basketball league. And the questions that follow, the most popular idea was the beach volleyball court to be set up in a park with 63% responding in a positive way. Also, 50% of the students said they would participate in a volleyball league. We also have requests for a decent basketball court, and we believe there's a large piece of rectangular asphalt that we believe in Van Buren Park we believe would be an excellent basketball court.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we had a basketball thing there, and we moved it down and back on the asphalt down there. And the big reason we did that is because people were playing like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was a problem for the neighbors. That was the reason it was moved.
Okay. We also asked students if they felt there was enough information available to them as to what programs there were. 70% did not think there was. They had suggestions on how to disseminate this information through the various ones, through the school paper, flyers, TV, radio, issuing a schedule of events at like the high school and junior high, and just like advertising the local papers. And now Erica will finish this section.
We also had a question for suggestions for programs that people could just think of that we couldn't think of to put on the survey ourselves. And we had 3 students suggest a football league for older kids because there's Pee Wee for the younger kids, but people wanted something for older kids to do. You know, maybe even like flag football or something. And 2 people wanted a kickball league. And basically we figured that just any type of people are looking for some sort of a sports thing to do for recreation, some kind of in-house thing that isn't a big commitment, but kids can go and do and have fun for something to do over the summer or something. And there were 5 students that suggested a skate park. And we know there's a lot of interest in this, and we also realize that there's a big liability issue dealing with it. So we weren't ready to suggest anything for that. There was also suggestions such as a women's golf team, intramural sports teams, and some people even suggested programs that would help the environment, or programs that would go around to nursing homes or things like that, just for teenagers interested in that. So we believe that some sort of sports teams, sports leagues, are the way to go because that was what showed the most interest on the survey. And we also think that the beach volleyball court at the city park had a lot of interest in that, and the basketball court, because those had the most interest for just the things in the parks. And when we went to Van Buren Park, like I know that it used to be over on the other side, but the one that's there now, I can understand why you moved it and stuff. I think it's a good idea, but like it's kind of like bent up and stuff. It's kind of out of shape, and I don't see this like anyone using it like that.
Oh, the one that's there now, you mean?
Yeah.
I think Barry put that up new last year, too. It was brand new last year. But the kids, there are kids down there, a lot of times they use it at night, you know, till dark. One of the reasons we put it where it is because by the road there, it was lit well into the early hours, and it wasn't just kids. There was young men and adults going down there, and they would, you know, I mean, we had the police down there a lot of times in the middle of the night, but they would come back. So when we put it where there wasn't a light, when it gets dark, they go home. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But we can, Barry, I'll look at that and see if that needs a new hoop, I think. And, you know.
We thought the beach volleyball, just any park, but we were thinking recreation park because it's sort of by the water and
Yeah.
not that anyone really uses the water.
See, I'm involved with the Fulton Volleyball Association. Okay, I've been there probably about 10 years. And for quite a while, I've been trying to get sand courts in. We had 2 courts in the 6th Ward at Van Buren Park. We had a tournament down there, I believe it was 1993. We ran a tournament for the Riverfest, whatever. I went and set the posts. I set the hardware in the posts. I showed up the next morning, and all the hardware was gone. So somebody over there borrowed it. You know, the problem is, what do you do with the equipment? How do you fix it? We also had a couple spots set up down on the beach, Stevenson's Beach, and that's overgrown with grass now. They're a maintenance problem. I've been in favor of it. I've tried to get these, sand courts in, because I'd like to see a summer league. We do run a winter league that starts in September. We do have the girls' high school team that plays in that league. I think that's one of the reasons why they do so well, because they're playing on a men's net. Number one, they're playing in a men's league, and I think that helps them during their league league play. At least I'd like to think it does. But the league does sponsor a high school boys team. I don't think we did one this past winter. We normally do it from January to May, but that didn't get together. We had enough teams as it was, but usually if we've got an open, the league will pay for. We don't sponsor the girls team. That's the high school coach sponsors the girls team there, but with the league itself, since there is no boys program at the high school, we pick up the tab on that. Just to give some of the high school guys an opportunity to get into the game. It's unfortunate that they don't have a program in Fulton, because most of the other high schools in our leagues do have a boys program going on. But I have tried, Barry knows I've tried, Barry Ostrander, try to get these volleyball courts in. It'd be a great thing to have down there in that, along the water. I would like to see some leagues run down there. And the other thing too, as far as running the volleyball leagues, we are kind of landlocked as far as expansion. We haven't tried to expand the program because there are no facilities for us. Luckily we've got Fairgrave School on Monday nights and Wednesday nights, and there's always a threat of losing those because school programs have the priority over us. We've worked well with Tom Eggleston. He's helped us out quite a bit there, and it's just unfortunate we have not aggressively tried to expand those leagues. We had a men's power league that we haven't had in a year. Very difficult league to put together because you're talking very competitive teams. But we generally can run the lower league teams. But again, without the availability of facilities, we don't really try to expand the league. We would like to see it expanded, but we can't. The War Memorial is occupied now with basketball programs. We used to be in there. We were in there for probably 10 or 15 years. And in fact, we ran Wednesday nights. We had Wednesday nights during the summer was open for anybody to come in to play. And that's where we picked up a lot of our new players and teams. And we've lost that to summer leagues, summer basketball programs. So we don't have a place now to run any type of volleyball league during the summertime or any type of volleyball play during the summertime because we don't have the facilities. The schools don't want us in there during the summer because there's nobody to watch us. And so without a city, a municipal area to play in, we really can't. There's nothing that we can do about it. I'd like to do something about it, but at this time, there's just no facilities, available to us.
Is there a lot of interest with the kids for the volleyball? I mean, you have
Yeah,
enough?
there really was. It was the most popular
What would it
year.
take to put some sand on that beach and put up a volleyball net?
Sand is the biggest expense, really.
See, we used to run a York rig through there every year, so we didn't get all that grass, but since they stopped swimming there, couldn't we just fix that and put a volleyball? That seemed like it'd be fairly inexpensive, Mike.
You'd have to put some small, either use old volleyball nets or some snow fencing just to keep the ball from cruising into the water.
Into the water, yeah,
But,
that's right, too.
But that's not a big deal either.
Right, I mean, we've currently have been involved with a lot of these things in the past, as Mark had briefly touched on, in reference to outdoor volleyball courts.
Even one, something.
We had one set up briefly at Stevenson Beach, because we had talked about doing a tournament down there in the years past.
We ran one tournament down there the year after the Van Buren Park
Yeah.
deal. It rained like crazy. They played in the rain, but it ended up being a mud fest, really. There wasn't much sand down there. It was more like mud volleyball rather than sand
I
volleyball.
currently have a sand volleyball court set up now at North Bay Campgrounds. Maybe there's something we can do to facilitate. In reference to the volleyball, Fulton Volleyball Association used to play Wednesday nights over at the War Memorial during the course of the summer. And of course, it's the same night that we run our basketball programs on Wednesdays. But we could still accommodate volleyball on those nights. Obviously, the basketball program wouldn't fall on. We generally run the basketball leagues throughout the summer on Wednesdays and Sundays. And I think that conflicted with some of
See,
what
one of
Mark
the reasons
had.
why we were running during the summer on Wednesday nights is because the women's softball league is Wednesday night, and a
Yeah.
lot of the players
That's exactly
were women.
what happened with
So they would go
basketball.
down and
Yeah.
play softball, and then they'd show up to play volleyball during the same night.
That's exactly the same dilemma it is with basketball. As far as intramural basketball, we will be starting up a high school league this year. It's going to be new for the kids that can participate from the high school. So we'll be able to hit those kids that are interested in the basketball program. The winter obviously is difficult for us because we can't facilitate. That War Memorial is maxed out as far as usage.
Yeah, Barry, how much did it cost to set up the volleyball deal over in the North Bay?
Didn't cost us basically virtually nothing,
Couldn't
other
we-
than the expense of the poles and
Yeah.
in the net.
Couldn't we set something like that up at Stevenson's Beach now that they're not swimming there and just schedule it for the kids? to
Oh, we
use during
could
summer?
easily do that. We'd have to haul sand in on that. Obviously, the sand that originally was there is all growing in, and the other
Yeah.
sand that we had previously carted in is since washed out. I don't know how
We
much.
got any Great Bear at all?
Let's see what we can do if
But
we
you
can.
need pretty good
See,
sand,
the
because you're going to be
problem-
diving and stuff, so you need good quality sand. We'd probably have to purchase that through Northern or...
Could you get a price on it anyway,
Yeah,
and we take a look at it?
It certainly isn't that difficult.
Did you get a copy of the report they did?
Right, and I appreciate that. It's great to get the input from the kids. That's something that we've long looked for, to get some of the kids involved in helping us develop the program. It's difficult for us to be mind readers what the kids want. We kind of throw things out there. A lot of it's trial and error. Obviously, our staffing is so limited. We're such a small department in that area. And it helps to get input from the people who directly want those kind of programs. And we certainly, and I've said this right along, we need to develop more programs to affect the teens between 13 and 18 years old.
Especially the recommendations they made about advertising over at the schools.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We need to get flyers out over
Right,
there at the programs.
we do that with our park program. Every teacher gets a brochure, they get posters and et cetera, but there again at the high school level, that's one of the areas where we don't have enough programming that's advertised other than our knee-high basketball program, which will be advertised throughout the school for the kids to get involved in the winter. And it goes back, Mark and I had sat down, I'd like to be able to develop the volleyball, but I go back to limited facilities. If I had two war memorials, I could book them both solid between our special events and our sports programs. There are some programming available at the CYO. They do handle teams with the basketball programs and some other programs, their karate and et cetera, as well as the YMCA. We try not to duplicate, to infringe on their programs, but there again, if there's a large demand for a certain area, obviously we try to pick up the slack as well. But it definitely is a benefit for us to get that input from the high school directly, from the kids directly.
The volleyball thing looks like it'd be good. It'd be something the kids wouldn't have to compete with the grown-ups for if they had something there for the summer anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's obviously the only concern we would have is being able to regulate it as far as so there's no vandalism to ruin it for the kids, because it only takes one kid to go down there and cut the nuts down, and that kind of thing has happened in the past. Mark pointed out it happened over at Van Buren, and it can easily happen at Stevenson's Beach, because those are areas that aren't very well lit.
That hardware at Van Buren wasn't there 24 hours.
Stuff does come up missing quite rapidly.
It's too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, because it's only our public that suffer from it, from one individual that decides that vandalism is fun, and obviously it affects all our programming, and it dictates a lot what we do.
Let's see what, if we get an estimate on cost of putting that together, and
Sure.
then we'll go from there.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank you for the research that you did. It's evident that you put a lot of time and effort into this, and hopefully we're going to be able to implement some of these recommendations that you've made, because I think that they're very worthwhile. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a comment that if any of those kids are interested in maybe coming to me, and if you, I don't know, do you plan on keeping that committee together? Is it just one-shot deal, or is it something that you might be involved with for a long term?
Well, I'd like to. Well, I'm a senior,
Mm-hmm.
so I won't be able to do anything about it next year.
Well, if there's something that we could get some of the kids involved with the school, that they can come to me and we can sit down and go over the primary needs of what the kids are looking for each and every year, as opposed to once every decade or whatever the case may be.
I think you're talking about this. Jeremiah had a survey on it, had a question, if anyone would be interested in helping out with anything like that. And there were some people that said they would.
Well, we're looking for it, as I said. I'm looking for whatever possible help I can get from our community members, and you are community members, and we certainly value your input. And we do a fairly good job at hitting the ages from 5 years old up to 13, and then you get to 13 to 18 is a troubled area, gray area for us, and it's been tough on some of our programming that we've implemented. The kids haven't been interested. We've opened up like inline skating and things, and the attendance hasn't been there, but if we get direct input from you as to what kind of programs, then maybe we could do a better job of maintaining our attendance on them and then continuing the programming.
I think the programs that they have here, but we just need to advertise them, I think. Because the inline skating was really popular, but the hockey, a lot of people just didn't even know about it.
Yeah. We're going to be trying that again this year, but it's going to be, actually, it's going to open up to like an inline hockey type league. We're going to experiment a little bit with that. I have some people who are a little more involved with those kind of programs that might be able to regulate to hit all areas from beginners to advanced groups, and we're hoping we can touch upon that. But I really appreciate the work that the group has done, and I hope that we can continue on doing that, because it is going to be extremely important for me to get your direct input.
Thank you, Barry.
I also had one comment in reference, just to let people know it is Community Pride Week, and we're in our second week, and we've had a lot of nice things that have been done throughout our community through a whole slew of different groups. I'm not going to name each individual groups, but I will just briefly touch on some of the areas that have been affected. On planting flowers, we've had a lot of groups involved with planting flowers at our North Bay campgrounds, Recreation Park area, Foster Park, C.V. Abbott Park, and the city entrances where people have come through and planted. Also, trash pickup along Route 3, along West First Street, South First Street. All area parks have been picked up by volunteer groups. I just left a group painting the East Side Pool bathhouse. I just recently left there to get over to here. And a bunch of other different city buildings are on schedule right now to be painted, such as down at the softball fields, the concession stand, and the press box, and our filter plant over at Eastside Pool to fit the color scheme of the War Memorial, the CDA building, the fire department. So all our buildings eventually will be uniform. We're having some landscape that's going to be performed out around City Hall. We've had some work that's started down to Foster Park, and we've had it done over at the War Memorial. And I certainly take my hat off to the groups that have been involved with it. I certainly appreciate that. As I mentioned before, we are a very limited number in staff and our maintenance, and every little bit that the community helps us out with is greatly appreciated and very well needed. And we just hope that we can continue the program. We have some ideas for next year to implement the program a little earlier and maybe even tackle some bigger projects. So we hope that continues. And once again, I'd like to thank the people that have participated. They will be identified individually. Each individual group will get some recognition in our local media when all the projects have been completed. So once again, I thank all the community for their support.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Do any members of the council have items to bring before the council?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
you know I always bring up some concerns coming into the second ward. Going back to a couple months ago, I brought to this council, and I want you people please to think about this, as far as littering in our parks, that possibility of a mandated fine. This would take it out of political hands. It would just be a set fine, and if anybody's violating, they would just have to pay that fine. Another thing someone brought to my attention, a senior citizen that probably produces half a bag of garbage a month. They're paying for a service that they're hardly using, and they asked if anything could be done to kind of help them out. And this is something I think we could take a look at and see, especially with the elderly people, and especially how much garbage is being produced by them. Another thing, and this is, I don't want this to take a negative turn towards any of our electrical people or our plumbers or anything of this nature, but a person brought to my attention that they would like to have some work done in their house. A friend of theirs doing electrical work. The individual is capable, what I understand, of doing electrical work, but is not a licensed electrician in the city of Fulton. This could save this individual a lot of money by having this person do it. They would not object to the fact of they would have the people come in and inspect the work being done. Okay, and I understand we do have a code in the city that they have to be, but this is, you know, these are concerns that people have out there, and these are things that we should be looking at and talking about.
This, we should address that specific one through the electrical board and get their input on that.
I will. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? I would like to welcome Alderman Lincoln back. That's a nice tan that he has received, and he is due some congratulations. He just returned from his honeymoon.
Well, thank you very much.
Any input from the audience? Any items whatsoever?
As not to revert back to the people that have come here, for the recreation advertisement, I'm working with Barry now on the webpage to where all the recreational programs are going to be on there, and there's going to be a section where they can actually download the applications to participate in these right from the actual website. It's just a matter of the time that's setting it up, and as you know, every other branch wants on it, but I'm working on Barry's right now because the majority of the kids are looking for information on the internet, and I think we should give it to them.
Thank you very much. That extra work is really appreciated.
And it's all donated 100%, no cost to anybody.
John.
I like it.
He said that.
One item that we really need to address as a council are funding for trees. We presently have more requests from aldermen for tree cutting than we have left in the tree budget. There was $10,000 budgeted for trees, and I think presently we've used $7,000 or $8,000 of it, and probably could use another 10 if we want to continue with tree cutting.
How much is usually in the budget?
Pardon?
How much is usually in the budget in any given year?
I don't know. I think 10,000 doesn't go a
You heard
long
that
way.
letter from Edith?
I think it was 30 or 40,000 they were spending a year.
Yes.
I think what happened last year, according to Ron Edict, is they started out with 10,000 and then came back and asked for 10 more and 10 more and 10 more. I don't know exactly what the expenditure was, but 10,000 doesn't go very far for cutting trees.
This is
that
money
doesn't
we
go
just
very
use for taking trees down.
And we get a lot of requests from,
We don't put any trees back.
We did last year,
there's no money budgeted for putting
No.
trees back.
but you also take the stumps out though.
Right.
Right, so there's a,
The other thing, John, if I may, with you, and I think we discussed this together with the trees, some of these older trees, the roots are also destroying the sidewalks and pushing these sidewalks up, which is creating a hazard in a number of places, a safety hazard. So I think also we got to look at that too.
Yeah, that's something, again, that would need to be budgeted. We've done, some sidewalks, the ones that are really a safety concern around the city, we've handled with city crews, so it hasn't cost us that much, except, maybe for the concrete. But that certainly is a concern, and the problem is sometimes when you fix the roots, the tree dies, then you got to take the tree out. So, but there are a lot of sidewalks that are hazard, and something we need to look at in the budget. Maybe a separate line item and a crew to do that, because
this crew's doing a good job too,
they
John.
are.
Everything I've seen they've done looks very professional.
Well, that work up around the OCO building, that
Oh, I
is
know, it looks beautiful.
tremendous.
It does, it looks really nice.
Yeah, it didn't take them very long to do it either.
No.
Speaking of trees, what's the status of the foresters down at Great Bend?
They came in to sign the contract, and they're going to be starting in a couple weeks. They're going to go down and take an inventory, and then walk the site for a couple days and give us their recommendations on what we should do.
What do they want to cut? Did they say they wanted to cut in the spring and fall, or was it summer and winter?
They want to cut
It was
in the
spring and
summer, not in the spring. Once the ground is hard, then they want to be able to go in there so they don't tie up their vehicles and make it a lot of ruts in there for us.
All right.
So they'll be going in there. I would think probably sometime in July they'll be in there.
We just signed that, I signed that contract, I think, wasn't it just this last week? Yeah.
And Roger said they came in and got the contract and signed it also. So we do have a contract with Forcon.
But that's just basically to put together a study of what we have and what we can sell and what we can't.
You authorized a couple $1,000s for them to go in there and do the study and give us their recommendation. And then if we want to proceed, we'll have to have them, we'll probably have to authorize a logging operation to go in there and have them, being Forcon, monitor that logging operation so the proper trees get cut. Or
Do you know how long the study's going to take? Because if the 2004 count was just to do the study, then they're not going to cut tree number one, and we're going to have to jump through the other hoops. Can they get some of that done this summer?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it is.
Oh, yeah. I would think in July and August we'll be doing whatever their recommendations are. The DEC recommended a thinning, and to hire Forcon to go in and have a real forester tell us what we need. So there'll be some cutting done this summer if that's what the recommendation is. But as far as trees, if we want to authorize some money out of contingency or wherever to cut more trees, because there's more trees now on the list than we have money for.
Yeah, you're going to have more too, John. You want a resolution?
Yes.
I'd like to.
How much, 20?
I'll second it.
Why don't you go with 10 now, and then if you need more, we'll.
Okay.
Go 10 at a time and see what it does?
We'll do it that way.
Do you have
Motion
more
for-
than 10 on the list?
10 will, I think, will get us a little bit.
You got about 7 on there right now, right? So you got about 3
I
left?
think Ron said we spent maybe 5 or 6, and we got about $1,800 more. So we haven't reached the first 10.
Getting close, so.
We're getting close.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more.
10,000.
Yep, 10,000.
Motion for transfer 10,000. Second.
I seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any other items? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So be it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
John Jones, U.S. Marine Corps retired.